The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with excited whispers. Today was different from the usual boring meetings about trade routes and border disputes. Today, they would meet their newest potential members, humans from Earth. Ambassador Jack Thompson stood straight and proud, despite being the shortest person in the room. Around him towered representatives from across the galaxy, the 8-foot-tall blue-skinned Titanians, the broad-shouldered rock-like stoneworlders, and dozens of other alien species that made him feel like a child at an adult's table. Next on our agenda, announced High Counselor Wilson, her crystalline form gleaming under the chamber's lights, Earth's application for membership in the Galactic Alliance. Thompson stepped forward to the central platform. His footsteps echoed through the chamber as hundreds of alien eyes followed his movement. He could hear some of them whispering about his size. Humans were among the smallest spacefaring races they'd encountered. Honorable Council, Thompson began, his voice clear and strong. Earth comes before you today, seeking membership in the Galactic Alliance. We offer our technology, our resources, and our military support in exchange for the protection and benefits of membership. A deep, rumbling laugh interrupted his speech. General Rex of the Titanian Defense Force stood up, his massive blue frame casting a shadow across the chamber. Military support? You mean those tiny soldiers I saw in your presentation files? He pulled up a hologram showing human soldiers next to other species warriors. The size difference was dramatic. With all due respect, Ambassador, Rex continued, his voice dripping with amusement, what exactly could your diminutive forces offer? Our smallest infantry units stand twice as tall as your largest soldiers. Your vessels, while impressive for a young species, are barely the size of our support ships. More laughter rippled through the chamber. Thompson noticed several representatives trying to hide their smiles behind their hands or tentacles. But Thompson didn't flinch. He'd expected this reaction. Size isn't everything, General, he replied calmly. Human soldiers have unique capabilities that could complement your forces in ways you might not expect. Oh, please enlighten us, Rex said, crossing his massive arms. The chamber grew quiet, waiting for Thompson's response. Thompson activated his own hologram display. Human soldiers can operate in spaces too confined for larger species. Our smaller size means we use fewer resources, require less transport space, and can infiltrate areas others can't access. We've developed combat techniques specifically designed to use our size as an advantage. Combat techniques. Another representative scoffed. Against opponents twice your size. That sounds like suicide. Sometimes the smallest key fits the most important lock, Thompson replied with a slight smile. We don't ask you to take our word for it. We're willing to prove ourselves through action. High Counselor Wilson raised her crystalline hand for silence. The Council has reviewed Earth's application thoroughly. While we have reservations about their military capabilities, their technological achievements, and resource contributions meet our membership criteria. She turned to address Thompson directly. Earth will be granted provisional membership. Your military forces may join Alliance operations in a support capacity, under the command of more experienced species. Thompson bowed slightly. Thank you, High Counselor. Earth accepts these terms. As the meeting concluded, General Rex approached Thompson. The Titanian military leader had to bend down significantly just to look the human in the eye. I hope you understand. Ambassador, this is for your own protection. The galaxy is a dangerous place for small species. Thompson met the general's gaze steadily. We understand completely, General. Humans have a long history of exceeding expectations. I look forward to working together. As Thompson left the chamber, he could still hear the amused discussions about Earth's tiny army. He pulled out his communicator and sent a brief message to Earth Command. Phase 1 complete. They reacted exactly as expected. The response came quickly. Understood. Continue as planned. Let them underestimate us. Thompson smiled to himself as he walked back to his ship. Throughout human history, Being underestimated had often proved to be a decisive advantage. Soon enough, the galaxy would learn what humans were truly capable of. They just needed the right opportunity to prove it. Little did the Council know, that opportunity was approaching faster than anyone expected. 3 months after Earth joined the Galactic Alliance, everything changed. The emergency alarms in the Council chamber blared to life, their piercing sound drawing representatives from their quarters in the middle of the night cycle. General Rex stormed into the chamber, his blue skin darker than usual with stress. The massive Titanian's footsteps shook the floor as he approached the central platform. "We've lost contact with the Omega colony," he announced grimly. High Counselor Wilson's crystalline form flickered with concern. "Omega colony? That's one of our strongest outposts." "Show us," ordered another council member. Rex activated the main hologram. The image showed a devastated colony world. Massive structures lay in ruins, and the orbital defense stations were nothing but floating debris. But most disturbing were the strange, dark ships moving through the wreckage. "We're calling them the Ravagers," Rex explained. "They appeared without warning. Our sensors didn't detect their approach until it was too late." Ambassador Thompson sat quietly in his small chair, watching the larger aliens argue among themselves. The human noticed something odd about the attack footage, but he waited, observing their reactions. "Deploy the Titanian battle fleet," someone shouted. "The Stoneworlder heavy infantry will crush these invaders," declared another. General Rex shook his head. "We already tried. The Ravagers have some kind of shield technology we've never seen before. Our energy weapons just bounce off." The chamber erupted in chaos. The Alliance had relied on energy weapons for centuries. The idea that they might be useless was terrifying. "Even our strongest warriors couldn't breach their defenses," Rex continued. "They're protected by some kind of personal shield that repels any energy-based attack. We lost an entire squad of our best soldiers trying to engage them in close combat." Thompson finally spoke up. "General, may I ask a question?" The chamber fell silent. Several representatives rolled their eyes or sighed at the human's interruption. "What is it, Ambassador?" Rex asked, his tone making it clear he was only being polite. "In the footage, I noticed something about the Ravager ships. Their shields, they don't cover everything, do they? There are gaps, especially around their engine ports and weapon systems." Rex frowned. "Yes, but those gaps are too small to be useful. No weapon could." He stopped suddenly, looking at Thompson with new interest. "No energy weapon," Thompson corrected. "But what about something smaller? Something more primitive?" Before Rex could respond, another alarm sounded. A young aide rushed into the chamber, nearly tripping over his long legs. "General, the Ravagers have attacked 3 more colonies. They're moving faster than we thought possible." The council exploded into panic again. Representatives shouted over each other, demanding action, proposing and rejecting ideas rapidly. High Counselor Wilson raised her hands for silence. "General Rex, what are our options?" Rex looked troubled. "Our standard tactics are useless against their shields. We need time to develop new weapons, new strategies, time we don't have." "Perhaps," Thompson said quietly, "you don't need to develop new weapons. Perhaps you just need to use old ones." All eyes turned to the human again. "What do you mean?" Wilson asked. Thompson stood up, though he still only reached the chest height of most others present. "Humanity hasn't always relied on energy weapons. We have extensive experience with kinetic weapons, what you might call primitive projectile technology. Small arms that might just be perfect for exploiting those small gaps in their defenses. You expect us to believe that your outdated weapons could succeed where our advanced technology has failed?" Someone scoffed. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," Thompson replied calmly. "And sometimes being small enough to hit a tiny target is better than being big enough to hit a large one." The chamber grew quiet as his words sank in. General Rex stroked his chin thoughtfully. "High Counselor," Thompson continued, Earth requests permission to deploy a small team to defend the next likely target. Let us prove what humans can do. Wilson looked at Rex, who nodded slowly. Very well, Ambassador. You'll have your chance. But remember, if you fail, we'll lose another colony. Thompson's face remained serious as he bowed slightly. We understand the stakes, High Counselor, and we won't fail. As the meeting adjourned, he sent another message to Earth Command. Phase 2 complete. Prepare the teams. It's time to show them what humanity's tiny army can really do. The Galactic Council's war room was unusually crowded. Representatives from every major species gathered around the massive holographic display, watching as another colony fell to the Ravagers. The mood was grim. Admiral Mary Stone walked into the room, her crisp Earth Force uniform standing out among the colorful alien clothing. Despite being the shortest person present, she moved with absolute confidence. Behind her, 2 human soldiers carried what looked like large metal cases. General Rex raised an eyebrow at their entrance. Admiral Stone, I hope you have something useful to share. We've lost 4 more colonies since your ambassadors. Suggestion. More than something useful, General, Stone replied, her voice clear and strong. We have a solution. She nodded to her soldiers, who opened the cases. Inside were what looked like primitive weapons to the alien observers, rifles, pistols, and various other projectile-based arms. You can't be serious, one of the Stoneworlder commanders rumbled. Those are ancient weapons. They don't even use energy cells. Stone picked up one of the rifles. Exactly. They don't use energy, which means they can't be stopped by energy shields. She turned to the holographic display. Show me the footage of the last Ravager attack. The display changed, showing the terrifying dark ships and their armored soldiers. Stone pointed to specific parts of their armor and ships. Look here and here, she said. Their shield technology is incredible against energy weapons, but it has to have gaps for heat dispersion and sensor input. Small gaps, but gaps nonetheless. She held up a bullet. And these? These are small enough to fit through those gaps. But the Ravagers are twice your size. Someone protested. Even if you could hurt them, they'd crush your soldiers in close combat. Stone smiled. Size isn't always an advantage. Our soldiers are faster, more agile, and most importantly, we're small enough to go where the Ravagers can't follow. She pressed a button on her comm unit, and the display changed to show footage of human special forces in training. The aliens watched in amazement as the soldiers moved through tiny spaces, scaled walls, and hit targets with incredible precision. The maintenance tunnels in your colonies, Stone continued. The ventilation shafts. The service corridors. They're all built to accommodate repair drones. Drones that happen to be about the size of a human soldier. Understanding began to dawn on General Rex's face. You want to use our infrastructure against them. Exactly. The Ravagers can't follow us into those spaces. They're too big, but we can use them to move freely, to strike from unexpected angles, to hit those weak points in their armor. Stone pulled up another display, showing modified human weapons. We've adapted our weapons specifically for this mission. Specialized ammunition designed to penetrate their armor through the shield gaps. Sound suppressors to maintain stealth. Even climbing gear sized perfectly for your maintenance shafts. The council members murmured among themselves. It was a bold plan, but also incredibly risky. High Counselor Wilson spoke up. And you believe your soldiers can succeed where our strongest warriors have failed. We don't need to overpower them, Stone explained. We just need to be precise. One well-placed shot through a shield gap can do what 100 energy blasts can't. And humans, we've spent centuries perfecting the art of precise violence. The room fell silent at her words. General Rex stepped forward, towering over Stone. How many soldiers would you need? 3 teams of 6, small, mobile, and lethal. Give us a colony to defend, and we'll show you exactly what humanity's tiny army can do. The general looked at High Counselor Wilson, who nodded slowly. Very well, Admiral Stone. The mining colony of Beta 7 is likely to be their next target. You'll have 48 hours to deploy your teams and prepare your defense. Stone's face remained serious, but her eyes gleamed with determination. That's all we'll need. Just remember, when you see what happens next, this is why size and technology aren't everything. Sometimes the old ways, the simple ways, are exactly what you need. As the meeting ended, Stone sent a message to her waiting teams. Operation Small Strike is a go. Show them why you should never underestimate humans. The reply came back instantly. Ready and waiting. Admiral. Time to hunt some giants. Beta 7's mining colony was eerily quiet. The civilian population had been evacuated, leaving only the human strike teams and a small group of alien observers, including General Rex himself. The massive Titanian stood in the colony's control center, watching the defense preparations with obvious skepticism. "Your soldiers are really going to defend this entire colony?" he asked Commander Tom West, the human team leader. 18 humans against an entire Ravager assault force. West checked his rifle one last time before responding. "Sometimes, General, the smallest sword strikes the deepest." He tapped his radio. "All teams, check in. Alpha team in position, maintenance level. Bravo team ready, ventilation system. Charlie team set, utility tunnels." The colony's warning systems suddenly blared to life. On the main screen, multiple Ravager ships appeared from hyperspace. Their dark shapes blocked out the stars as they moved into attack position. "Here they come," West said calmly. "General, I suggest you and your observers move to the secure bunker now." Rex started to protest, but stopped when he saw the first Ravager drop pods hitting the colony's outer sections. "Very well, Commander. Try not to die too quickly." As the observers retreated to safety, West switched to the tactical channel. "Remember your training. Small targets, precise shots, hit and move. Let's show them what humans can do." The first wave of Ravagers burst through the colony's outer doors. They were massive creatures in black armor, each standing nearly 10 feet tall. Their energy shields flickered as they moved, deflecting the automated defense turret shots harmlessly away. From his hidden position in the control center, West watched through the security cameras as the Ravagers began their standard search pattern. Then he smiled. "Alpha team, they're in position. Execute." In the maintenance level below the Ravagers, tiny hatches opened silently. Human soldiers emerged like shadows, their modified rifles aimed upward through metal grating. They had a perfect view of the gaps in the Ravagers' shield generators. Fire. The sound of gunfire was surprisingly quiet, thanks to the suppressors. But the effect was devastating. Ravagers fell as precisely aimed bullets found the weak points in their shields, penetrating their armor through gaps no larger than a human finger. "Contact," one of the Ravagers shouted. They turned their weapons downward, but the humans were already gone, disappearing back into the maintenance tunnels. "Bravo team, your turn," West ordered. Above the confused Ravagers, more humans appeared from ventilation ducts. More shots, more fallen giants. By the time the Ravagers looked up, Bravo team had vanished into the ceiling. "They're in the walls," a Ravager commander bellowed. "Burn them out." But that was exactly what the humans had planned for. As the Ravagers fired their energy weapons at the walls and floor, they didn't notice Charlie team emerging from utility access panels behind them. "Charlie team, clean house," West commanded. The third team's shots were perfect, hitting shield generator after shield generator. Ravagers fell like dominoes, their supposedly impenetrable defenses useless against precisely placed bullets from behind. In the bunker, General Rex and the other observers watched in stunned silence. The security feeds showed the incredible scene. 18 humans systematically taking apart a force of over 100 Ravagers. "Impossible," one of the observers whispered. The battle lasted less than 20 minutes. The Ravagers, unable to follow the humans into the small access ways and maintenance tunnels, were picked apart piece by piece. Their superior size and strength meant nothing when they couldn't even reach their tiny opponents. When the last Ravager fell, West's voice came over the radio. Control center secured. All teams report. Alpha team, all clear. No casualties. Bravo team, 2 minor injuries. Sector secure. Charlie team, 1 sprained ankle. Area sanitized. General Rex emerged from the bunker to find West waiting for him. The human commander was covered in dust from crawling through maintenance tunnels, but he stood tall despite his small stature. How? Rex asked simply. West gestured at a fallen Ravager. Your size gave you strength. Their shields gave them protection, but both made you vulnerable to something smaller and simpler. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. He picked up a simple brass bullet casing from the floor. And sometimes, General, the smallest weapon in the right place is better than the biggest weapon in the wrong one. Rex looked at the bullet, then at the human. I believe, Commander West, that we have seriously underestimated humanity's potential contribution to the Alliance. West smiled. That's what we were counting on, General. That's exactly what we were counting on. News of Beta 7's successful defense spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council chamber, usually a place of calm debate, buzzed with excitement as representatives watched the battle footage for the 100th time. Look how they moved through those small spaces. Did you see that shot? Right through the shield gap. 18 humans defeated over 100 Ravagers. General Rex stood at the central platform, giving his official report. The massive Titanian's voice carried a newfound respect when he spoke about the human forces. The success at Beta 7 wasn't a fluke, he announced. In the past week, human strike teams have defended 3 more colonies. Total casualties: 0 humans lost, 412 Ravagers eliminated. Ambassador Thompson sat quietly in his usual spot, hiding a small smile as he watched the same aliens who had laughed at Earth's tiny army now clamoring for human protection. A representative from the outer colony stepped forward. We request immediate deployment of human forces to our sector. Our defensive positions are perfect for their tactics. Lots of maintenance tunnels and service ducts. No, the core worlds need them more. Another shouted. We have more civilians to protect. High Counselor Wilson raised her crystalline form for silence. Admiral Stone, what do you say to these requests? Admiral Stone walked to the center of the chamber. The path cleared before her, aliens moving aside respectfully despite her small size. Earth is prepared to deploy additional teams, she said. We've been training more soldiers in anti-Ravager tactics, but we'll need support from the Alliance. Anything, several representatives said at once. Stone activated a hologram showing new weapon designs. We need manufacturing facilities to produce our specialized ammunition. We need ships modified with human-sized accessways for rapid deployment. And most importantly, we need the Alliance to start thinking differently about warfare. What do you mean? Rex asked. The Ravagers aren't the only ones who rely too heavily on size and energy shields, Stone explained. The entire Alliance military is built around the idea that bigger is better. But Beta 7 proved that small, mobile forces using simple weapons can be devastatingly effective. She gestured to the battle footage still playing. Look at how the Ravagers responded. They had no defense against an enemy they couldn't reach. Their huge weapons were useless in tight spaces. Their tactical doctrine fell apart when faced with something completely different. General Rex nodded slowly. You're suggesting we reorganize our entire military approach. I'm suggesting we adapt, Stone corrected. Keep your heavy forces, your energy weapons, your massive ships. But add smaller, more mobile elements. Learn from what humans have shown you. The chamber was quiet as her words sank in. Then Rex did something unexpected. He walked over to Thompson's seat and knelt down, bringing himself to eye level with the human ambassador. Thompson, he said quietly, I owe you an apology. When you first came here, I laughed at your tiny army. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Thompson smiled. No apology needed, General. As I said before, being underestimated can be a powerful advantage. Well, you won't have that advantage anymore, Rex said, standing back up. The galaxy knows what humans can do now. The Ravagers are about to learn as well. High Counselor Wilson spoke up. Admiral Stone, what would you recommend as our next step? Stone's eyes gleamed with determination. The Ravagers think they've seen everything humans can do. They're wrong. Give me 2 weeks to prepare our new teams, and I'll show you something that will change this war forever. You have 1 week, Wilson replied. Make it count. As the meeting ended, Thompson sent his usual message to Earth Command. Phase 5 complete. The galaxy finally sees our true potential. The response came back quickly. Excellent. Prepare for Phase 6. It's time to take the fight to the enemy. Thompson watched the aliens filing out of the chamber, many of them now nodding respectfully to him instead of looking down with amusement. The tiny army had proved its worth, but the real test was still to come. Soon, the Ravagers would learn that underestimating humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. The war room was different now. Instead of the usual giant chairs and towering displays, everything had been adjusted to accommodate beings of all sizes. Admiral Stone stood at a human-height tactical table, surrounded by military leaders from across the Alliance. We've found them, she announced, activating a hologram of a massive space station, the Ravager home base, hidden in the dark nebula, where our sensors couldn't detect it until now. General Rex leaned in, his massive blue form casting a shadow over the display. How did you find it? The same way we beat their troops, Stone said with a slight smile. By thinking small. She zoomed in on the hologram. Our new microprobes, about the size of an Earth insect, slipped right through their sensor net. Their shields are designed to detect large ships, not tiny drones. Commander West stepped forward, pointing to specific sections of the station. Look familiar. The same design philosophy they use in their armor. Huge energy shields with tiny gaps for heat dispersion and sensors. But this time, the gaps are big enough for something special. He pressed a button, and the hologram changed to show a new type of ship. It was tiny by Alliance standards, barely larger than a shuttle. Meet the Mosquito, West said, a strike craft designed by human engineers, small enough to slip through the Ravager station's shield gaps, but powerful enough to carry a team of 6 humans and their equipment. The alien commanders studied the design with interest. They'd learned to pay attention when humans talked about small things. How many of these ships do you have? Rex asked. 50, Stone replied, each carrying our best operators. While the main Alliance fleet draws their attention, our Mosquitoes will slip through their defenses using the maintenance ports and sensor gaps. She highlighted different sections of the station. We'll insert teams here, here, and here. Primary targets are their shield generators, weapons control, and central command. Once we're inside, we'll use their own infrastructure against them, just like we did in the colonies. One of the Stoneworlder commanders rumbled thoughtfully. They'll expect something like this after what happened at Beta 7. They'll expect something, West agreed. But not this. Not the sheer scale of it. 300 humans infiltrating simultaneously from multiple points. Their internal security is designed to stop large-scale boarding actions, not small teams moving through maintenance tunnels. Stone pulled up another display showing the station's internal layout. Their corridors are huge, built for their size. But look at all these service shafts and repair ways. Too small for Ravagers, perfect for humans. We'll own their infrastructure within minutes of insertion. And once you're inside, Rex asked. Chaos, Stone said simply. 300 humans, moving freely through their station's guts while they can't follow. We'll shut down sections, trap their troops in sealed compartments, disable their weapons. Death by 1,000 cuts. The alien commanders looked at each other. A year ago, they would have laughed at such a plan. Now they nodded in approval. The main fleet's role, Rex asked. Hit them hard, Stone replied. Make them focus on the big threat they can see while ignoring the little ones they can't. When their shields start failing section by section, when their weapons go dark one by one, that's when you strike with everything you have. She looked around the room. This is how we end the war. Not with overwhelming force, but with precision. Not with size, but with skill. Not with advanced technology, but with the simple determination of humans who refuse to be underestimated. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Rex stood to his full height. The Alliance fleet will be ready. When do we attack? Stone checked her watch. The mosquitoes are already in position, hidden in the nebulous dust clouds. We launch in 6 hours. As the commanders filed out to prepare their forces, Rex stopped beside Stone. A year ago, I thought humans would be useless in a real war. Now you're leading the assault that might win it. Stone smiled. Remember that feeling, General. Remember what happens when you underestimate the small ones. She sent one final message to Earth Command. Phase 6 complete. Operation Mosquito is go. Time to end this. The response was immediate. All teams cleared hot. Show them what humanity can do when we stop playing small and start playing smart. In 6 hours, the Ravagers would learn the hardest lesson in the galaxy. Sometimes the deadliest predator isn't the biggest one, but the one small enough to slip right through your defenses. The dark nebula lit up like a new sun as the Alliance fleet engaged the Ravager station. Massive energy weapons crossed the void, a spectacular light show that drew every eye. But the real battle was happening in the shadows, unseen by almost everyone. Mosquito Squad, execute mission. Admiral Stone's voice was calm over the comm channel. 50 tiny ships, previously hidden in the nebula's dust, powered up their engines. Commander West sat in the lead Mosquito, checking his gear one last time. All teams, go dark and follow your assigned routes. See you on the inside. Like their namesakes, the Mosquito ships darted through the chaos of battle. They were so small that the Ravagers' targeting systems didn't even register them as threats. One by one, they slipped through shield gaps and maintenance ports, landing silently inside the massive station. In the Alliance flagship's command center, General Rex watched the tactical display. I don't see them. Did they make it? Stone smiled. That's the point, General. You're not supposed to see them. Watch the station's power readings instead. Teams of humans moved through the station's service tunnels and maintenance shafts like ghosts. Their small size, once mocked by the galaxy, now made them invisible to the Ravagers' internal sensors. The first sign that something was wrong came when an entire section of the station's shields suddenly failed. What happened? A Ravager commander demanded. Unknown, his subordinate replied. The shield generators just shut down. Before they could respond, weapon systems began failing across the station. Security doors slammed shut, trapping groups of Ravager soldiers. Life support flickered in some sections. Chaos spread through the massive structure. Find them, the Ravager commander roared. They're in the maintenance systems, but the Ravagers couldn't follow. Their massive forms couldn't fit through the human-sized passages. They could only watch helplessly as their station was systematically taken apart from the inside. In the central control room, West and his team emerged from a ventilation shaft. The Ravager officers spun to face them, but the humans had already taken position. You're beaten, West announced. Surrender, and we'll spare your lives. The Ravager commander, a towering figure in black armor, laughed. You, tiny creatures like you dare to demand our surrender. Look around, West replied calmly. Your shields are down. Your weapons are offline. 300 humans are moving freely through your station, while your troops are trapped in sealed compartments. Size doesn't matter when you can't reach your enemy. Outside, the Alliance fleet pressed their advantage. With the station's defenses compromised, their attacks began to break through. Last chance, West warned. Surrender, or we'll let the big guns finish this." The Ravager commander looked at his displays, watching his mighty station fall to beings he could have crushed with one hand. If only he could catch them. "We surrender," he growled. The war ended not with a massive battle, but with a simple message from Commander West. "Station secured. The Ravagers have surrendered. The small ones win." 1 week later, the Galactic Council gathered for a special session. The chamber had been permanently modified, with seats and platforms for beings of all sizes. Admiral Stone and Commander West stood before the Council, receiving the Alliance's highest military honors. "You have changed how we think about warfare," High Counselor Wilson announced. "And more importantly, you have changed how we think about each other." General Rex stepped forward. "In recognition of humanity's contribution, the Alliance military will be reorganized. All species, all sizes, will be valued for their unique abilities. We will never again make the mistake of judging strength by size alone." Ambassador Thompson watched from his seat, thinking back to that first day when the Council had laughed at Earth's tiny army. Now they understood what humans had always known. True strength comes in many sizes. As the ceremony ended, Rex approached Thompson one last time. "You knew, didn't you? From that very first day, you knew being underestimated would be your greatest advantage." Thompson smiled. "Sometimes, General, the best strategy is to let others think small of you. Because when you prove them wrong, they never make that mistake again." The story of humanity's tiny army became legend in the galaxy. It taught everyone a simple but powerful truth. Never judge any species by their size, for the smallest beings can often make the biggest difference. And somewhere in the dark nebula, a small fleet of mosquito ships stood ready, a reminder to all that sometimes the deadliest force in the universe isn't the biggest or the strongest, but the one smart enough to use every advantage, even being small.